Working for you. This is CBS6 This Morning, Weekend.
Well, out with a bang. Dominion's former headquarters will be demolished in just a few minutes. What time the blast will go off and what you need to know if you're living downtown. And a peaceful demonstration turns violent in Richmond overnight. Rioters set multiple fires, including a police car and GRTC bus. How it could impact life downtown this morning. The total number of COVID-19 cases goes up in Virginia, where we stand this morning, and the positive trend health officials are seeing. Good Saturday morning to you. It's May 30th. I'm Greg McQuaid. Thanks so much for joining us here on CBS6 Saturday morning. And if you live around downtown Richmond, be prepared to hear a loud blast and a change on the skyline. Dominion Energy is set to implode their old headquarters in mere minutes. CBS6 reporter Brendan King joins us live near the blast site in downtown. Brendan, good morning to you. What can you tell us about this?
Good morning, Greg. This is it. This is the moment we've been waiting for in the months and months of preparation to make this all happen. Again, this is a 21-story tower, the old Dominion Energy office tower that has sat here in downtown Richmond for more than 40 years. But we're told it will take just seconds for it to be imploded and leveled to the ground. So we want to show you what we're all looking at. And I will tell you, behind our cameras, a lot of people, a large group of folks are watching. We're talking about police officers and VDOT crews. We're also having a public viewing over there down the bridge here. So we are standing in the safety zone just outside that 15-block radius surrounding the tower. Absolutely no pedestrians are allowed to be walking around this blast site today, but it'll take just seconds to be imploded. So I want to show you, we spoke to an engineer running this operation, and they said you'll first hear a 2-minute warning, and then you'll hear a 1-minute warning, and those will come in this series of blasts. And so you think that those blasts are the implosion, but they say not yet. So again, this is scheduled to happen at 7 a.m. So we're told that crews in the building drilled some 2,500 holes, filling them with more than 3,000 pounds of dynamite. And they're using these giant machines that spray mist to protect nearby buildings from the dust and debris. And I'm told we are just giving the 2-minute warning, so 2 minutes away. And the experts who are running this operation say the implosion will last only about 20 seconds. It'll be no louder than a fireworks display, but they're certainly warning the public to stay home. I can tell you, much of the public did not heed that warning. We spoke to the president of CDI, the engineering group and the construction group that is running this operation. He said, don't consider this a spectator sport. This is explosives handling. This is dangerous by definition. He says, we appreciate the interest, but this is something you'd want to watch on CBS6. So if you live downtown, you're asked to stay indoors until the implosion is over. Any dust that is kicked up should be cleaned up with a damp cloth or rinsed with sidewalks with a hose. We also, Greg, spoke with a longtime Dominion Energy employee. Her name is Paula Jacobson. She spent countless hours in this building. She worked here for 40 years before retiring last June, and we asked her opinion. What does she think? Should it go? Should it stay? She says it needs to go. It had its day in the sun. It's time to make it time to come down and make new for new. And if she said if we could have a front row seat, she would love to be there in person, but she says she knows better than that, and she's just going to be watching it live on TV right now. So we are just under 2 minutes away, waiting here. We are on the Canal Street. State Capitol is just a few blocks away, but we are all eyes on this Dominion Energy office tower. We are 1 minute away. I just heard the 1-minute siren, so you can hear faintly. You may have been able to hear it. It's like some faint sirens, but you might hear there's a helicopter flying nearby. We have right behind our camera, if we would swing around, but we want to keep all eyes on this Dominion Energy office tower. We have Richmond police officers. I would argue that everyone has their cell phone up right now recording this, because this is something that you probably want to keep. And you're going to be asked, where were you when the old Dominion Energy office tower was imploded in downtown Richmond? Arguably a landmark, because it sat here for 40 years, 21-story tower. And so I just heard that we may have stopped. I'm trying to listen for more information.
Stop. I'm no longer in the red. And what? make this not happen on time? Thunder, fog, somebody in the
So forgive me, there may be some sort of delay. There's something that may delay this would be fog, a thunderstorm, or maybe someone in the area. So that is why we were initially given the 1-minute warning, but then that may have delayed, something may have delayed that. So we are just watching this. Again, they drilled 2,500 holes into this 40-year-old building, filling it up with thousands and thousands of pounds of dynamite. And the engineers who are running this operation say it'll take just seconds to be imploded. And it's something you probably saw on TV before, but certainly doesn't happen quite often here in Richmond, Virginia.
Hey, Brendan, this building has been standing on the skyline now for more than 40 years, and it's going to come down in seconds. A big, big hole in the skyline there in RVA.
I would say so, because if you see right next to it on the left, this is the new Dominion Energy Tower, the much modern looking. Well, there you have it. I think I might put on my mask because this dust cloud is rather large and it may just be coming our direction. What do you think about this, Greg? I haven't seen something like this in downtown Richmond.
I'll tell you, Brendan, as we were saying, 4 decades it's been standing there. It's just been this iconic building. It comes down in mere seconds. And that dust cloud is fast approaching you, Brendan.
They said, I'm hoping that we're in the safe zone. So this is where literally all of the media and then the police response right behind our camera here. I can count dozens of people who are with their cell phones right now just sitting here. We are told this is the safety zone. They made a 15-block radius. They had blocked the streets. If you were driving anywhere near downtown Richmond, especially on the expressway, they had blocked the expressway. But as you see, this is just a growing cloud of dust. I hope that we are in a safe position because I do have my mask. Pretty much, I would say, 99% of everyone who's standing at this location right now has a mask on. So that's probably the best for your safety for the implosion here. And of course, we're also dealing with a pandemic, but it is over within 20 seconds, and here we are, everyone.
And Brendan, it's interesting to note the engineers said that that building constituted about 40,000 pounds of debris, and interestingly enough, 90 to 95% of all that debris is going to be recycled. So inevitably, some of that debris might be going up in other buildings across Virginia or across the country. And we're looking at those pictures, Brendan, of just seeing that cloud of dust covering Kanawha Plaza down there. And it was remarkable to watch, Brendan. It came down in mere seconds.
It kind of took me by surprise because we were listening to the CDI folks here. They had their radios on, and we heard red, 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 and then we heard stop, 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 and then it happened. So we heard that 2-minute delay, and then we got the 1-minute delay, and then we thought like, oh, did something happen? And a Richmond police cruiser zoomed by our location, so we thought it was someone too close to the location, but it happened, and man, I'm just very fortunate that I'm here to experience this for myself. This is just incredible to me.
I know, Brendan, there's a big cloud of dust in front of you, but what does that view look like? You've seen that picturesque view of the skyline, and now it looks like a set of teeth with one big tooth missing.
I would say when the dust settles, and this is why Richmond police and the energy crews told people to stay home, because you certainly don't want to be in the thick of this. So this is something that you probably don't want to be right nearby just for the sake of your own health. But I know that I am wearing my mask. If I sound sort of muffled, that's why I'm wearing my mask, for my own safety. But finally, after more than 40 years, a 21-story tower, the Old Dominion Energy office tower, finally imploded. So we have actually a CDI engineer here trying to tell some guys on some bikes you can't get any closer. This is not a safe area. So people are still trying to get close, even though the building's down. It is still not safe to come down to downtown Richmond. Just to let you know, if you plan to come down to downtown Richmond, do not.
And they're going to notice a big change to that skyline. Brendan King, thank you so much for the live report. We'll be checking back with you in another half hour or so. Thanks so much for that coverage, witnessing history in downtown Richmond. It's 7:06 right now, and this morning, a peaceful protest in downtown Richmond late last night and early this morning turns violent as hundreds march to protest the death of George Floyd in Minneapolis. What started out as a protest over Mr. Floyd at the hands of a police officer in Minnesota turned violent as demonstrators set several fires and buildings on fire. Check this morning to show us what happened and the cleanup that now begins. Shannon, good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg. We are here at Broad and Belvedere Street, and this is just one of the locations where you can really see how this protest turned violent. Here at this particular location, you can see that this GRTC Pulse bus was lit on fire overnight in these protests, and the damage speaks for itself. The windows are gone. You can see that it's littered with graffiti. Now, we are told this morning that the tow truck is on its way. They've since taken down the crime scene tape. So again, working to clear this scene out here this morning, and again, we'll check back in on that in just a few minutes. But we do want to go straight to this video here, where in just a few seconds you'll be able to see this Pulse bus that was fully engulfed in flames overnight, where hundreds of people, more than 100 people, were gathered around. A spokesperson for GRTC tells us that this is a total loss, and they also tell us that GRTC will have to delay their services until 9 this morning. They might even have to cancel services altogether for the safety of their customers and employees. Now, these protesters joined other similar demonstrations that were happening around the nation overnight, all in a response to the death of George Floyd, while he was in Minneapolis police custody. Here in Richmond, the protest started peacefully in Monroe Park just around 8:30 last night, where hundreds of people were marching around the city and to the Capitol and City Hall. But around 11, that is when these calls for the destruction at the Richmond Police Department started coming in. That you're seeing here on your screen, you can see that there were fires set to trash cans, and there was a window broken out of the Richmond Police Department headquarters. The building was sprayed with graffiti as well, and a car outside of Richmond Police Headquarters was also lit on fire. There was also support that was brought in from Henrico County and their SWAT team, and police had a helicopter circling around. So again, just a chaotic scene overnight. It has since cleared up quite a bit here this morning, but we are also learning this morning from the Department of General Services that Capitol Square will be closed this morning due to the civil unrest. It's actually going to be closed throughout the entire day due to that civil unrest and the damage to the surrounding buildings. Working for you in Richmond, I'm Shannon Lilly, CBS6 News.
Shannon, thanks for the update. At 7:09, protests erupted across the nation, including this one in Charlotte, North Carolina. About 250 demonstrators gathered outside a city police precinct to protest the death of George Floyd. The Civil Emergency Unit declared gathering unlawful. That's when police say people in the mob threw rocks at officers and damaged police cars, while others looted a nearby Food Lion. We're told a member of the Charlotte City Council is among those arrested. Richmond was just one of the cities where riots flared up over the death of Mr. Floyd in Minneapolis. Police officer Derek Chauvin was charged with murder on Friday. CBS News correspondent Michael George is in Minneapolis this morning with the latest on the unrest.
It was another night of nationwide demonstrations and violence after the death of George Floyd. In Atlanta, protesters lit cars on fire and smashed the entrance of CNN headquarters. Georgia Governor Brian Kemp declared a state of emergency and activated 500 National Guard troops.
What I see happening on the streets of Atlanta is not Atlanta. This is not a protest. This is not in the spirit of Martin Luther King Jr. This is chaos.
In New York City, protesters burned a police bus. At the White House, a few hundred demonstrators tussled with Secret Service officers, leading to a brief lockdown inside. In Portland, Oregon, police declared a riot after a crowd set the Justice Center on fire and broke into a mall. About 1,700 National Guard troops have also been mobilized here in the Minneapolis area as hundreds of protesters ignored curfews overnight. Firefighters worked through the night to put out several dozen fires set by the protesters.
The action that they're taking is not going to get the results that they're seeking.
Minnesota Governor Tim Walz pleaded for them to go home.
The wanton destruction, and specifically of ethnic businesses that took generations to build, are being torn down.
The demonstrations only intensified after Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin was charged yesterday with third-degree murder and manslaughter. All 4 officers who were part of the arrest have been fired. Michael George, CBS News, Minneapolis.
Officer Chauvin's wife released a statement saying that she had filed for divorce and that she is devastated by the death of George Floyd. At least one person was shot and killed during the unrest in Detroit, and several police officers were hurt across the country. Turning now to COVID-19, the Virginia Department of Health will release their updated figures on the coronavirus later today. There are more than 42,000 confirmed cases and more than 1,300 people have passed away in Virginia. More than 1,500 people are still in the hospital this morning. More than 5,600 people have been treated and released from the hospital. And here's another graph from the Virginia Department of Health. Take a look at that yellow line. It shows the 7-day rolling average of the percentage of positive tests in the state since March 17th. Percent positivity is one of the metrics the CDC says you want to watch. We're looking for a 14-day downward trend before the Commonwealth can move into the next phase of reopening. Remember, you can find our complete COVID-19 coverage on WTVR.com and on the free CBS6 Breaking News app. 7:13 right now on CBS6 Saturday morning. Here's a check of the weather with Mike Stone. Hi, Mike.
Morning, Greg. We have some clouds breaking for a little bit of sun right now. Still a chance for a few storms today, and it's going to be warm and humid, but tomorrow, some big changes. We'll talk about that after the break.
Okay, Mike. It came down in seconds, and now the big cleanup begins at the site where the old Dominion Energy headquarters used to stand. We'll be right back with more on this big story coming up on CBS6 Saturday morning.